of life for the I'm too busy business person. Because when I talk about some of the things that we do and what we're going to talk about today, it's I would really like to do it, but I'm too busy. And it's okay. Well, there's ways in which if you will trust me, and I have been a mental health professional for over 30 years, 30, and as of December, I've seen over 37,000 clinical hours, 37,000. Now, I only say that to say that my kids are just now starting to ask my advice on things. And they kind of had all this free counseling for all these years, and finally they're saying, Dad, what do you think about, I said, I've been waiting for 30 years to tell you this advice, and here I am, here we go. So I'm going to say this to you today. If you will listen to what I say, if you will hear what I say, if it will go the long distance from the head to the heart, and if you will apply in practical, intentional ways what we talk about today, you, I believe, with God's grace, with God's strength, and your will, it is going to allow you to finish the race strong, to do what God has asked you to do, where He's asked you to do it, in the way that He's asked you to do it, for the people with whom He loves, and in a way that's going to honor Christ, extend the kingdom of God. And I'm hoping, I'm praying that that is why you are even here and why you are doing what you are doing. If you have a why for what you do, you can do just about any what. Sometimes we focus a lot, what do you do? What do you do? What do you do? And I say, why are you doing what you're doing? Why do you do this? Why do you get up in the morning? Why do you put your feet on the floor? Why do you get dressed? Why do you go out into the marketplace? Why are you doing this? Think about that, because we're going to talk about developing a healthy rhythm of life. In 2011, I had been challenged by a brother-in-law by the name of Rodney. Everyone needs a brother-in-law like Rodney. And when I was 45 years old, Rodney said, I'll bet you that if you really train, you could actually finish a marathon. I said, Rodney, a marathon, I'm 45 years old. Why in the world would a 45-year-old do a marathon? He said, well, here's the book, here's the training. If you want to do it, do it. And guess what? I did it. I finished a marathon when I was 45 years old, a full 26.2-mile marathon. And after that, I said, you know what? I think I can do another one, and another one, and another one, and another one, and another one. And I did 11 complete marathons. And I was getting ready 4 years ago to train for my 12th marathon, and I started to feel some pain in my back. I said, oh no, I've probably slipped a disc, or I've injured a muscle or something. And I went to my doctor, and he said, okay, we're going to get you into some physical therapy. And they sent me to this big gorilla, and he was jumping up and down on my back and stretching and pulling and pushing, and nothing was helping. And finally it got worse and worse and worse. And they decided to do an x-ray 4 years and 1 month ago, and they looked at the x-ray and they said, oh, something's going on, because we see that your L5 on your spine is actually collapsed. And that weekend it really collapsed. It fell down onto my sciatic nerve. I was on the floor. I couldn't walk. I ended up in the hospital. They did a biopsy, and I got a phone call the following Monday, and they said, your life is about to change. And they found out that I had a cancer called multiple myeloma. And in fact, when they did the blood work, they found that multiple myeloma is a cancer of the blood plasma. And as it turns out, my blood plasma was occupied 70% with cancer. It had eaten away at my spine, big holes in my spine, big holes in my hips. They did the x-rays, they did this treatment. I couldn't walk. I was actually not able to walk for almost 8 months. Was in the hospital over and over again for multiple massive doses of chemotherapy. And they finally, 3 years ago, were able to get the cancer down low enough that they could kill all of my white blood cells, all of my red blood cells, all of my hemoglobin, and they were able to do a stem cell transplant and actually had to recreate my whole blood system from zero. Now I say that to say this to you. You can be running along in your life, You can be running the marathon of your life, and something can happen to you that you least expect. Something's going to happen. And unless there is something built in your life at a very deep, deep, deep level, something in your character, something that has formed your spirit, I can tell you that you might be in trouble when you go through the crises of your life. Because I can tell you that you will never go out of a crisis the same way you go into it, and a crisis will always, 100% of the time, a crisis will always change you. And through that process, I learned some very important lessons about life. And I'd like to share a few of those with you if you don't mind. And that's a picture of me on the right-hand side. That was actually 3 years ago.